Hi, welcome to the Purple Fox Kitchen. My name is Julie. Today we're going to make chicken soup with matzo balls. So we are going to start with the matzo balls. Now when I make matzo balls, I use a mix. I don't try and do it from scratch. I've never tried to do it from scratch. And using a mix is so easy and so delicious. So that's what we're going to start with. So I just get this box. It's matzo ball mix. Some of it comes with the soup. I just get the mix. Take one packet. And all this is this packet of mix, 2 eggs, and vegetable oil. So we're actually going to start with the eggs. And then it's 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So we're just mixing the eggs and the oil together. And now we're going to add the contents of 1 packet. And it's definitely easiest if you use a fork for this, not a whisk. A fork is best. And then we're just going to mix all this together until it's nice and even. So this is all mixed up. It's all nice and even. So this mix is done. The trick to making really good matzo balls is chilling this mixture. You want to put it in the fridge for about 15-20 minutes. So I'm going to put this in the fridge. While this is chilling, we're going to start making our chicken soup. Okay, so now we're going to start to prep our vegetables. And a little trick that I've told you once before is when you're going to put down a cutting board, always put down a wet paper towel. So as you can see, if you just take your cutting board, it's going to slide all over the place. You don't want that, you're going to cut yourself. So take a paper towel, it's nice and damp. Put it down. It's not going anywhere. So now we're going to prep our vegetables. And in your basic chicken soup, you have carrots, celery, and onions. So I'm just going to peel the carrots. And then you just want to cut off the ends of your celery. Now when I make soups, I really like chunkier vegetables. You know, if I'm eating a soup, it's going to be my meal. I actually want to be able to take bites of it, even though it's a soup. So when I cut my celery, when I cut my carrots, I cut them a little bit bigger. I don't cut them into tiny, tiny little pieces. So I'm going to take the piece of celery you saw, I'm going to cut them in half just so it's easier to cut. Rather than trying to cut a long piece of celery, I cut them in half. And now I'm cutting these pieces in half again. And then I'm cutting them, you can see they're not super tiny, but it's going to be a good bite, good size. So here's my cut up celery. You can see they're all basically the same size. And again, just like the celery, because they're long vegetables, I like to cut them in half, so each half is easier to work with. So I'm going to take the smaller ends, cut them in half. So as you can see, I'm cutting pretty good sized chunks here. And this was from the thinner ends of these 3 carrots. Now these are the thicker ends, and I'm going to cut these in half one more time, just because they are much thicker than those were. And then I'm going to go in and cut these. Okay. So I have my carrots all chopped up. They're all, again, pretty much the same size. You want everything to be consistent. Looking pretty. And Now we're going to chop our onion. So when you cut an onion, you always want to cut the top and the bottom off. And then cut it in half. So you can see the size dice you're about to cut. And then put it together, hold on really, really well. And then I just go in and make dices. There's already, natural lines on the inside. So now I have dices right here. Flip it over, hold on good. And as you can see, they're also pretty much the same size as the celery. You really just want to keep everything very consistent in the same size in your vegetables. Just turn down the burner, we're going to start making our soup. So we're going to start with a little vegetable oil. And in case you're wondering, I have another pot here just of water. And we're going to cook our matzoh balls just in plain water. We're not going to cook them in the soup. What happens is the matzoh balls, they expand, so they soak up all the liquid that's in your soup. So you want to do it separate. You don't want to put any salt in here or else the matzoh balls will get really salty. So I completely do them separate. Then when they're done, then we'll add them to the soup. So right now I just have some vegetable oil in here. So we're going to take the veggies we just cut, just put them right in. I'm going to add some salt and pepper. And I'm also going to add a couple bay leaves. Now I have a few sprigs of thyme here. Now I have these in my little garden outside, which I'm very, very excited about. Thyme is my absolute favorite herb. It is not a necessity in this soup, but I'm adding it because I love it. If you have it at your house, add it. If you don't have it, you don't need to go out and buy it just for this soup. So I'm actually just going to throw them in here like this. I know I have 4 sprigs, or 5. So I know at the end I'm just going to pull them out, and the leaves are going to fall off as it cooks. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. My matzoh ball mix has been in the fridge. Now I have this little ice cream scoop, if you will. These matzoh balls are going to grow when you cook them. So you want to start out really small, because also the smaller they are, the more you get to make and the more you get to eat. But so what I'm going to do is just start out by scooping them and putting them on the plate. Okay, so they're all scooped out. So I actually have a wet towel here because it helps if your hands are wet when you do this. And it's like rolling like a meatball. You're going to take them and you're just going to form them so they're nice and round to your hands. And if your hands get a little dry, this is like, you can see I have water dripping off. It's wet. So now we're going to put them in the plain water. So we're just going to drop them in. You don't want them to cook at a raging boil. You just want them to simmer. And then come over here. So as you can see, everything looks translucent. If you look at the onions, they're like clear now. So my vegetables look great. They've sweat out very nicely. Now we're going to add the liquid. I've put the cover on my matzoh balls. You want them to come to a simmer. We'll cook those for 20 minutes. Now, not everybody makes homemade chicken stock, and I understand that, and someday I will teach you how to do that. But in the meantime, I think this product is fantastic. I really like the 33% less sodium. I think the flavor is pretty much perfect the way it is. You don't want it too salty. You want to be able to control your own salt. So I'm going to add the whole container of this. So I have my liquid in here. Now one more thing I'm going to add, which is a little trick for me, this chicken base. It's not super salty, it's gluten-free. I always use it in my soup. It just, to me, gives it that homemade chicken soup taste. Okay, so my soup looks really good. Right now is about the time I'm going to taste it, see how the seasoning is, see if it needs any more salt, or if it's too salty, I can always add a little water. Oh my gosh, it is so good. That is just chicken soup at its finest. Let's turn this off. Look at that. You can see how much they've grown. These are almost done. Grab a utensil with holes in it so you can strain it. Oh. Now I'm going to add them to my soup. Okay, so my soup is done. I've added the matzo balls into the soup. I've turned the heat off. The last step is adding my chicken. Now what I've done is I actually bought a rotisserie chicken. We had it for dinner one night. This is left over. There's nothing better to do with rotisserie chicken than add it to soup. Now you can see I have really good chunks here. I didn't disintegrate it. I didn't cut it up too small. So even though it's cold, I'm just going to add it to the pot. It'll heat up in 2 minutes. Like I said, I turned the stove off. Lots of chicken. Give it a final stir. And your chicken soup is done. So you know I'm digging in. Look at how just amazing. It's chunky, there's lots of vegetables. The matzo balls look fantastic. And you know I have to give this a shot. But you can see these little leaves of thyme that are floating around, and that just gives it so much more flavor. They've fallen off the stems. I mean, that is a hearty bowl of chicken soup. So I'm digging into this matzo ball. It is so soft and billowy. Oh my gosh. These matzo balls are just, they're to die for. They're just so soft and delicious. So thank you again for following me. Follow my YouTube channel, The Purple Fox Kitchen, and please subscribe, and thank you again so much, and have a great day. Okay, so what we're gonna do is